Hello everyone, welcome to this week's Baby Time. I am Lila Garza, I'm the library coordinator at Tolleson Public Library, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the best books for infants and young babies, as well as how some of the favorite games that we play with them support language development and support early literacy skills. So I'm going to start with a welcome song. It's called Let's All Clap, Our Friends Are Here. I'm going to start in 1, 2, 3. Let's all clap, our friends are here, friends are here, friends are here. Let's all clap, our friends are here, our friends are here today. Hi friends, thank you for joining me today. So one of the most interesting things about infants is that they are born on day 1 ready to learn. As soon as they are born, then they start making connections between physical sensations and kind of emotional bonding, and they start wiring all different parts of their brain that are going to be very important for learning later. So one of the most interesting things actually about babies is that when they are born, when you have an infant that's less than around 4 months old or so, they can't actually see shades of color. So they are looking at the world in shades of gray. So some of the best books actually for that age range, all the way up until 6 months, are very, very high contrast patterns and very high contrast books, primarily black and white. So I'm going to show you an example of a book like that today. It is called I Kissed the Baby. It's by Mary Murphy. And as you can see, it's got this wonderful, wonderful kind of white silhouette against a black background. And the contrast colors, the pink and the yellow, are very high contrast, they're very bright. So a lot of times we see a lot of pastels being used with babies and infants under 4 months of age, and we kind of intuitively feel like that might be soothing for them, but the truth is that they can't really see the pastels. So oftentimes these kind of high contrast black and white images are often more soothing for them. So when you choose books that have these kind of very high contrast black and white images, it's actually going to help baby with focus because they're actually able to see the image, so they're going to look at it for longer. It's also helping actually develop their optic nerves, so they're working on eye development. And of course the optic nerve connects to the brain, so they're working on brain development as well. So these very kind of high contrast black and white books are excellent for infants and for young babies. All the way up till about 6 months, these are very useful. When colors are added to the black and white kind of patterns, as you'll notice, again, they're very high contrast. So we have a very high contrast yellow and a very high contrast pink. And of course, as a modification, once babies are getting older and you're working with young toddlers as well, they're going to be enjoying a lot of the story aspects of these black and white books as well. So this one, I Kissed the Baby, does have a story aspect as well. So you see the animals talking about, did you see the baby? I did see the baby. Did you feed the baby? I did. You can be kind of play acting some of these different activities with babies and young toddlers as you're reading with them. Did you sing to the baby? Opportunities to sing. Tickling the baby. Kissing the baby. And here you see the mama duck kissing the baby duck. Big kisses. And of course, incorporating any kind of play into books is very important for reading. And then the baby duck quacking at the end, quack, quack, quack. So adding animal noises as well is a really great practice. But working with very high contrast kind of black and white images is very important in the first 4 months all the way up to 6 months. Another thing that you can be working with are any kind of like play mats or anything that you're working with infants in terms of tummy time and with young babies. You want to be holding about maybe 8 to 10 inches away from their face when you're reading. So Leo here is my pretend baby. So if he or she is doing tummy time, then I'm going to be holding it about this far away and trying to keep their attention again with those black and white images. Another thing is that if you can find high contrast materials, so like this, for example, in this nice little soft book, this little panda bear, you see has a lot of black and white, and when they are introducing colors, it's primarily red, which is a great first addition. And then you've got some blue here as well, but it is a somewhat bright blue, as is the green. So there's not a lot of competing colors on this. It's very high contrast, and you see this kind of black and white ticking pattern all the way around the edge. Something like this, working with baby time, might hold baby's attention and encourage them to stay on their tummy longer than if you're working with something that's very pastel that they might not be able to really see and to differentiate the tones yet. So those are some of the best materials that you can be using to be developing reading routines with baby. Also any kind of high contrast black and white toys. Another thing that I want to point out is that I am putting a link to some black and white pattern cards that you can print if you're so inclined. I'll be putting a link to that document in the comments to this video. But another thing that you can do is just kind of make your own. So even if you were to just take a white piece of paper and a black marker and just kind of making some different, very high contrast kind of patterns on the page. So just kind of making even like a black star pattern is going to hold baby's attention more than trying to do kind of big colorful pictures that they're looking at, because they can't see a lot of those color changes again up until primarily within the 4 to 6 month time frame is when they're really working on developing their color awareness in terms of vision. So the next thing that I want to do is I want to show you some really great interactive games that you can be playing with babies in that age range, and then I'm going to show you a few modifications that you can do once they're kind of older babies and young toddlers. Okay, so I'm going to go over 3 of the most popular games that we play with babies. One is just kind of interactive play where you're pretending to eat, like baby's fingers and baby's toes. The second is this Little Piggy, and the third is Pat a Cake. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how those 3 kind of favorite baby games really support early literacy, so you can get an idea of what they're learning from that interaction with you. So I'm going to move these to the side, and I'm going to bring out a doll that I have. I'm just going to prop up my baby doll here on Leo so that I can see her face, so that you can be seeing kind of how that interaction would look while they're sitting up talking to you or while they're laying down, right? So I'm going to start with kind of interactive play that we do a lot instinctively with babies in a very rhythmic kind of sing-song kind of voice. Researchers actually call that voice that we instinctively use with them parentese. And babies respond very well to it because of its sing-song quality. So at about 2 to 3 months, they tend to really start developing the ability and the desire to be reaching up for everything. So to be reaching out to toys, to be reaching up to kind of, be grabbing things. Again, at around 3 months, babies vary, but at a few months in is really when they start developing that. So one of the things that they might be doing a lot once they hit past that milestone is reaching out to you very often, especially and specifically towards your mouth while you're talking to them. So one of the things that we can do is we can create a little bit of interactive play. So just with a very simple kind of playful rhyme. So in this case, I'm just going to be talking to baby, and she's going to be reaching out to me, and I'm going to say, "Mama's very hungry. Mama needs some lunch. Can Mama eat baby's fingers? Munch, munch, munch." And pretend to eat baby's fingers. And odds are that you're going to get some kind of cue back that they're enjoying that game. So what you want to be looking for when playing interactive games with infants who kind of haven't gotten to the point of really strong verbalizing is, do they get kind of bright-eyed? Do they reach out again to try to get you to play the game again? And as they're a little bit further along with beginning verbalization, are they cooing? Are they giggling? Are they smiling? Any kind of cues like that are a sign that baby is going to be enjoying that game, and odds are high that they're going to want the same game over and over again, which is good because babies learn best through repetition. So that is increasing their awareness of taking turns. So I take a turn doing something, they take a turn responding. That's the basis of conversation, and that's really crucial for language development, where you're understanding the rhythms of language, where I speak, you speak, I speak, you speak, and so on. You can also, of course, be doing that with baby's toes. But my favorite thing to do with baby toes, and it might be yours too, is this Little Piggy, right? So once you've got baby's toes, 5 little toes, you're just gonna be grabbing kind of one each. This little piggy goes like this. This little piggy went to the market. This little piggy stayed home. This little piggy had roast beef. This little piggy had none. This little piggy went wee, 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 all the way home. And doing tickles, of course, as you work your way up with the all the way home. What's great about that nursery rhyme for early literacy and language development is, again, the repetition. So nursery rhymes are one of the best tools that you can be using to work with babies on their pre-literacy skills, really all the way up through preschool age. Nursery rhymes are super, super important. And the reason for that is that the repetition of repeated phrases in those nursery rhymes give them a foundation, where as soon as they kind of understand a word and they're able to verbalize a word, because that repetition is very predictable to them, they're able to know exactly where to contribute the word that they know. They know where to put it, so to speak. So it's easier for them to feel like they can start joining and participating as they are developmentally able to do that. It also is kind of providing order to the language in the sense that when something is predictable and when something is repeated over and over to them, it makes sense of the language in a way where they're able to start structuring it in their mind, which is very, very important, not only for language development and for participating in songs and things like that with you in conversation, but also with reading later when they're going to be reading very systematically in kind of a left to right fashion and understanding later even how stories work and how they fit together. So this little piggy is a really great nursery rhyme that you can be introducing to really young babies. So it's never kind of too early to start working with nursery rhymes and with finger plays and things like that. So the last one that I'm going to go over is patty cake, and I'm going to show you kind of how you might be playing patty cake with a very young baby, a baby that's a little bit older, and then how you can be modifying that for toddlers. So just like with the books where we can be kind of picking out different things based on how old the child is that you're reading to, same thing with games. So with patty cake, for example, if I have a very young baby that's only a few months old, they might be really into just kind of slapping my hand, right? So when I get this kind of bouncing where they want to slap my hand and they want to just be participating with me in that way, I can be using patty cake this way as opposed to kind of making them clap. If they're able to kind of tolerate you clapping for them, please feel free, but a lot of young babies are not quite to that point yet. Their movements might still be a little bit kind of even jerky in the first few months. So with a very young baby, it might look like this. Patty cake, baker's man. Bake me a cake as fast as you can, and then roll with them. Roll it up and roll it up, and mark it with a B, and toss it in the oven for baby and me. When you're working with babies, infants and younger babies and toddlers, it is a good idea to go ahead and take your finger and just kind of trace whatever letter it is that you're going to be using for the patty cake on their hand or somewhere on their body, so that they're really feeling that physical stimulation and they're feeling that pressure, so that it's easier for them to start making a map in their mind of the shape that that pressure takes and the shape that that stimulation takes. Once you're working with older toddlers and younger preschoolers, then you can be encouraging them to trace it on you, to trace the letter, to trace it on their own hand, or even to trace it in the air. Another thing that you can be doing with patty cake as kids get older is, of course, instead of just doing a generic B, you can be using the first letter of baby's name. You can always be doing that, but especially as they get older, it's helping them identify the first letter of their own name and really using that as kind of a jumping off point for that to be the first letter that they really start writing and that they really first start recognizing. Another thing that you can be doing with patty cake, of course, is that as baby is getting older, you could be making it a little bit more interactive. So once you're kind of past this clapping phase, then you can be showing them how to clap and pat, right? So it might look like patty cake, baker's man. Toddlers might be enjoying that. And then, of course, doing a little bit more interactive with the rolling. And then as babies are responding really, really well to kind of big motions, and when toddlers are very interested in moving their bodies a lot, then, of course, when you're tossing the patty cake in the oven, then either lifting baby up or encouraging toddlers to really toss it up and pop themselves up. So I hope that you enjoyed going over some basic kind of baby games and getting some ideas on some good books to be working with infants and with young babies. It is fascinating how much they're learning even from day one, and I hope that you enjoyed learning a little bit about what it is that they're getting from interactive play with you. There are 5 daily practices we want to be working on every day for early literacy and for healthy brain development, and that's talk, sing, read, write, play. And there are wonderful opportunities every day to be engaging with babies, doing those fun activities. So again, there is a link to some fun black and white pattern cards in the comments to this video, and I hope that you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next week. Bye, friends.